I want to tell you something that most people in this industry will not say out loud. And that is that a very large number of people who start this career as a mortgage advisor, they don't make it past the first 2 years. And not because they weren't smart enough, not because the market dried up, not because they failed their exams or couldn't find clients. They left because the way they built it, or more accurately, the way they failed to build it. And that made the whole thing feel unsustainable before it ever had the chance to become something real. You see, a dangerous part is that most of them didn't even see this coming. They were busy, they were working hard, they genuinely cared about doing a good job. But busy and working hard without the right foundations underneath, it doesn't build a career. It builds a slow burn that eventually runs out of fuel. So if you are sitting here asking whether mortgage brokering is a good long-term career, the honest answer is yes, of course, but only if you understand what actually makes it work. And that's exactly what this video is about. My name is Ash Borland and I'm a mortgage business coach. And the reason I do this work is because I got tired of watching capable, driven people enter this industry and quietly just fall apart. Not from lack of effort, but from lack of structure. I've sat with advisors who are 8 months in, cases coming through, clients are happy on the surface, and then I've looked at me, they've said to me, look, I'm feeling like I'm holding the whole thing together with both hands and I have no idea what happens if I let go. Now that moment, that very specific feeling I just mentioned is exactly what this video is designed to prevent. Because if you are starting out or seriously considering this career, what I'm about to share with you is the difference between building something that genuinely compounds over time or spending years working harder than you should have for results that never quite feel stable. And there are 3 things that determine whether this career is going to work long term. Get them right and this industry will reward you in ways that genuinely are difficult to replicate anywhere else. Get them wrong though, and you'll spend years wondering why it never really clicked despite everything you put in. The first thing is the one that nobody leads with, and that is the advisors who thrive long term in this industry treat it like a business from day one. And the ones who struggle, they treat it like a job. They're just trying to get through it every single day. Now, the distinction sounds very simple on paper, but in practice, it changes absolutely everything. Okay, a job mindset means you handle whatever comes in. You do the work in front of you and you hope that the next month looks after itself. But a business mindset means you have a repeatable process for generating inquiries, a clear framework for converting those inquiries into clients, and a system that keeps those clients connected so that they come back to you and bring others with them. Lead generation, conversion, and retention. That is the engine. The advisors who build that early, even imperfectly, even really messy, they are the ones who look back 2-3 years later and they feel genuinely in control of what they've created. The ones, though, who don't build it are constantly starting over and over again. Every month is a new scramble. Every quiet week feels like a crisis. And over time, that cycle doesn't just affect income, it affects everything. The way you show up with clients, the way you feel on a Sunday evening, the way you start to quietly wonder whether it's the whole thing is just a massive mistake that you made. I've seen that pattern enough times to know it's not a character flaw. It's a structural problem, and structural problems have structural solutions. Now, here's the part I want you to sit with, because it's where most beginners get it badly wrong, is that the instinct when you're new is to focus on almost entirely on getting clients. No clients, no income, no career. But what I see constantly is advisors chasing the next lead before they've ever actually built a reliable way of handling the ones they already have. They're marketing before they ever actually have a sales process. They're generating inquiries before they've got discovery call frameworks worth using. They're pouring water into a bucket that's full of holes and wondering why the level never rises. See, the sequence matters. Fix the conversion process first, then make sure that that's where when someone comes to you, you have a clear, structured way of taking them from the initial inquiry all the way through to a completed case, including the protection conversations, which I'll come back to in a moment. I'll talk about that later, okay? Once that process is solid, then focus on bringing in more people into it, not the other way around. The second thing is about income, and I want to be genuinely honest with you here rather than give you the version designed to make the career sound frictionless, okay? The early stages of mortgage brokering is not linear at all. There will be months where the pipeline looks thin, like really thin, and that's when the pressure is going to build. There will be cases that fall apart days before completion. There will be a Wednesday afternoon where you followed up with 4 prospects and heard nothing back from any of them, and the silence feels very loud, okay? That's not a sign that you've made the wrong choice, not at all. That's just what the early stages of building anything real actually feels like. But here is the critical difference that I've observed between advisors who come through that period and the ones who don't. And it's not resilience, okay? It is not mindset either. You're not going to woo-woo it into existence. It's whether they have a structure working in the background, even when it doesn't feel like it. Advisors with a consistent process, who have a clear way of staying visible, following up with purpose and moving prospects through a defined sequence, those advisors, they experience quiet weeks as temporary. Advisors without that structure experience the same quiet weeks as emergencies. Same industries, same market conditions, completely different internal experiences. Because one of them built something repeatable and one of them is still relying on hope as a strategy. The third thing is the one that surprises most people, and that is that confidence in this career is not something you wait for, okay? It's something that structure, again, I love a bit of structure creates. If you're new to this, then there's a very good chance you already are feeling some version of imposter syndrome. The worry that you'll say something wrong in front of the client, the anxiety around protection conversations that you're not quite sure how to navigate without sounding like you're just ticking a box or even pushing something on them, and the hesitation to really put yourself out there because some part of you just doesn't feel ready yet. And I want to challenge that directly right now in this video. That feeling, the feeling of not being ready, is almost never solved by sitting and waiting. It's solved by building a process that you can trust and then running it enough times that the uncertainty just disappears. When you have a discovery call framework that you've used 30 times, and the call stops feeling like something to survive and it starts feeling like something you can genuinely be good at. And when you learn how to introduce protection in a way that's structured around the client's actual situation rather than your own discomfort, those conversations transform, not because you become a different person, but because the process removed the guesswork. And the guesswork is the bit that was making it hard. See, this is the thing that I come back to with every advisor that I ever work with, whether they're at the beginning of the career or right in the middle, is that structure doesn't restrict you. It actually frees you. It takes the decisions out of your hands in the moments when anxiety would otherwise make them badly, okay? It creates consistency when motivation is low, and over time it builds the kind of quiet confidence that doesn't come from telling yourself that you're capable in the mirror 100 times. It comes from proving it repeatedly through a process that works. Now, is this career still challenging with all of that stuff in place? Yes, I'd be lying if I told you it wasn't. The compliance responsibility is real. The learning curve is mega steep, and you're working with clients who are at genuinely high stake moments in their lives. And that requires care, patience, and a level of professionalism that takes time to develop properly. Now, none of that though, it's not going to go away with structure, but the advisors who commit to building structure early find the challenges start to feel purposeful rather than absolutely exhausting. The work gets harder in complexity, but easier in execution. And the business slowly, steadily, without drama, starts to compound. And that is what a long-term mortgage career actually looks like. Not burning yourself out, trying to will results into existence. It's calm, it's structured, it's rewarding work that builds on itself, because the foundations are right from the beginning. So yes, mortgage brokering is genuinely an excellent long-term career, but the version of it that most people describe, the freedom, the income, the control, that version only exists on the other side of a solid structure. And structure doesn't appear on its own. It has to be built deliberately from the right starting point before you ever actually needed it. If you want to know the type of structure that's needed to increase your sales and do all that stuff, I've actually got a video where I break that down in more detail on my other deep dive channel. I'll link up on the video now.